1500ESPN.com. My name is Andrew Krammer. I want to thank you for joining me as we prepare for Vikings game week. Yes, they are playing a meaningful game on Monday, a week from today, as the Vikings will kick off in San Francisco against the 49ers. If you stay up for that game, because it'll be, I believe the kickoff will be around 9:30 Minnesota time, 7:30 or so out west. We'll be there bringing you updates at 1500ESPN.com, so make sure you check back for all your Vikings coverage that you need. But until then, we'll have plenty of storylines to keep track of this week. I'll drop three of them right now. The first one chiefly being John Sullivan, the center, the leader of an already thin offensive line group. He has been held back for 3 weeks now with back spasms. He has not practiced since August 18th. On Monday of the first, they officially kicked off game week on Monday today, and he still wasn't out there. Joe Berger was the center with Mike Harris to his right, a new right guard, and then a new right tackle and TJ Clemmings. So if they're starting three new offensive linemen, that could be a struggle for a team that has a lot of weapons, and in order to take advantage of it, you need that linchpin position there on the offensive line to hold firm. And that's not counting Matt Khalil on the outside on the left tackle, who has had a very solid preseason by all accounts, not only the eye test, but talking to coaches behind the scenes, and he's looked like he's been able to put those health concerns behind him after having 2 knee surgeries this offseason. But if he can't hold up, there's just so many question marks along the offensive line. Brandon Fusco, the left guard that they moved from the right side, is pretty much the only guy right now that doesn't come with some kind of question mark on the offensive line. So still going forward, that's still something we got to watch, especially John Sullivan, who is, again, the leader and the key guy. Not only is he one of their best blockers overall, he's the guy that helps Teddy Bridgewater with the protection schemes. He'd help Mike Harris, the new right guard, the new right tackle, and TJ Clemmings. He's a guy that is one of the smartest centers in the league and one of the best guys too at helping the young guys get straight and call out the blitzes and everything that's going to be going on. So he is very much a key member, even at age 30, one of the best centers in the league and a guy they really, really need. So, it speaks to the fact that they've held him out this long. They want to be cautious with him, but if he's not out there in game week, then that's a massive red flag, and that something could be going wrong with his back that's beyond just a spasm or two. So that's something to keep an eye on. Number 2, what we'll be watching is the young involvement for this Vikings team. They went through cuts this weekend. They still got younger, even though they didn't have many veterans to get rid of. They added a guy. They obviously added 2 veterans, in Sean Hill and Terrence Newman. But when they made their cuts, they now had to parse through some of these young guys that they were trying to keep, and they get rid of David Yankee, a 2014 5th-round draft pick. They get rid of Michael Motti, a 2013 7th-round draft pick, in order to keep guys like Edmund Robinson. They had 10 draft picks. I believe they ended up keeping 8 of them on the active roster. 2 of them, and B.J. Dubose is on the practice squad, and then the other one, Tyrus Thompson, the 6th-round pick, is on injured reserve. So they kept all their young guys in the fold, and they're going to have some young involvement. Chiefly, I think it's going to be Eric Kendricks, the 2nd-round pick out of linebacker at UCLA. I think he is going to be a starter in the nickel package. We don't know that yet. Practices are closed off, so we can't actually see how they're lining up right now. But all indications in the preseason are that Eric will play a significant role for this 2015 Vikings team, and I think he'll do it right away. They love his coverage ability. They love the lateral speed from sideline to sideline. The question is, though, then who starts at middle linebacker? Gerald Hodges seemed to line up at the base spot with the starters today during the open portion of practice. We're able to see the individual drills, so we're able to see kind of Anthony Barr, Chad Greenway, and Gerald lining up and going through some walkthrough stuff. So it looks like that's the look they're still going for. It seems like they'll use 4 different linebackers then going into the regular season, but it's going to be some young, unproven guys in Kendricks and Hodges. 2 guys who are going to get their opportunity, their time to shine, and be in front and be the face of a defense that struggled at times last year in staying consistent and really shoring up the run defense, which was a struggle last year. And a big thing I'm watching, too, for the run defense is how the defensive line, with more freedom, is able to then just play not necessarily one gap defense where they're just shooting gaps, but more so just going with how they feel in attacking. Sharif Floyd, Everson Griffin, Brian Robeson, they've all talked about how this defense now, Mike Zimmer's letting loose the reins a little bit. And you've seen some of the benefits already with Sharif Floyd just knifing through the line in the preseason and getting some of those run stops. And I think that could help a unit that is a strength of this defense. That defensive line is the teeth of what they want to do. And then obviously with Anthony Barr back healthy. But what they want to do is is be able then to take advantage of the athletes they have up front. And that's not by telling them to take up blockers. It's telling them to get after the ball carrier. And they want to do that a little bit more in 2015 than they did last year. So I'm watching for that. I'm watching for how Eric Kendricks gets involved. I'm watching for how Trey Wayne's involvement is going to be. All indications are right now that Trey might not be a starter. It seems like Terrence Newman, who took all the left cornerback reps throughout the offseason, will be the starter opposite Xavier Rhodes. Trey could get in there as the third corner, which is what Xavier Rhodes did as a rookie back in 2013. He kind of came on as the nickel guy when someone else slid into the slot. I could see that for Trey Waynes. I could also see him sitting for a month and trying to figure things out until Mike Zimmer feels comfortable putting him in there, because they've got Captain Munderland, they've got Terrence Newman, they've got veterans they can lean on and rely on for that. And so that's what I'll be watching for here. And then the final thing, the final point to keep an eye on here with these 2015 Vikings is they've got a lot of guys with health concerns. And I'm talking about Anthony Barr, who only played 12 games last year, tried to play through a knee problem, ultimately needed knee surgery. Matt Khalil, who we just touched on, who had those two knee scopes in the offseason. Kyle Rudolph, who has back-to-back seasons now. He's coming off of season-altering injuries, excuse me. They've got key contributors here, and then obviously chiefly a 30-year-old Adrian Peterson, who had multiple seasons end to surgery a couple years before he obviously took that year off. Or was forced off, on the field. So they've got guys that you got to wonder now, can they hold up? And you don't want to assume injury clearly, but NFL teams budget for it. It's 16 games. It's a long season. They need guys to stay healthy. And so they've got guys now that big time contributors I'm talking about in Kyle Rudolph, Anthony Barr, Matt Khalil, that absolutely need to stay healthy. And so this team, especially along the offensive line, has a thin margin for error when it comes to the injuries they have, because behind those guys, talking about Anthony Barr, Gerald Hodges would be the replacement there. And as good as Gerald has been in his spot starts, he doesn't impact a defense and opposing offense the way Anthony Barr would. Same with Kyle Rudolph and his ability down the field to be able to catch those passes in the end zone and down the seam. They drafted Michael Pruitt, but Rhett Ellison's not that receiving guy. Michael Pruitt's a work in progress. So this team could go from its high potential to falling short quickly if they have one or two strokes of bad luck, which they've already had in the preseason. So this is a sleeper team. A lot of people like them to make a lot of noise in the regular season. They need a lot to go their way. And we haven't even mentioned Blair Walsh yet, a guy who went 5 for 11 on field goals in the preseason. And this is the team that played 9 one-score games last year, and they went 4-5 in those games. And if they're going to win some of those games this year, they need to make the field goals. And now this is, for the first year, they're moving the PAT back to 33. Walsh missed one of those in the preseason. So there's a lot of movement here and a lot to keep track of as the Vikings try to put together this potential and turn it into production. So we'll be keeping an eye on all those things. I want to thank you for joining me at 1500ESPN.com. My name's Andrew Krammer. Please check back to the website for more updates, podcasts, videos, articles, all of it. Thanks again, guys.